Recent events in our nation have brought an essential conversation to the forefront. How we see each other, how we treat each other, how we see our past, and how we must change the future. As we all engage in this collective discussion, there's a place in the heart of our NSU campus in Davie, within the Alvin Sherman Library, where empathy and the resulting respect for the other have been a primary focus for quite some time. The Holocaust Reflection and Resource Center was founded by our friends, longtime NSU supporters, and community leaders, Barbara and Craig Weiner. And Barbara and Craig join us today, virtually, to teach us about this transformative idea and the core of its mission. We welcome Craig and Barbara.
Throughout the years, Craig and I have traveled a lot in Eastern Europe and gone to many memorials. And as each year went by, it became more personal for us until we felt the need that we needed to bring this knowledge and this history to the students of South Florida. And luckily, Nova Southeastern happily accepted our cooperation to do this together. And so we began our center, not expecting it to take off the way it did. And we've been open now for 5 years. And over the 5 years, we have become increasingly busy with schools from Palm Beach all the way down to Dade County. And the schools come to us for an entire day, as Craig will explain in the film. Our main mission is to stress being caring and kind people.
As we all know, Maria, there has been hate and prejudice in society going back over time. It seems now, though, in the year 2020, that it seems to be worse than I've ever experienced in my lifetime. And it's up to all of us to do something about it. The best vehicle, in our view, to teach young people how important it is to stand up against hate and to stand up against intolerance and prejudice is Holocaust education. And that's why we're doing exactly what we're doing. Holocaust education permits the student to see upfront and personal what happens as a result of hate and what happens as a result of prejudice. Hate isn't something that students have. It's something that they were not born with. It's something that kids develop, that they learn. They learn this hate. And it's up to us, all of us, to teach these young people how important it is to stand up against it. And that's the reason that we pursue Holocaust education. Whether it's racism, whether it's anti-Semitism, whether it's bigotry, whether it's hate as a result of sexual orientation, there are so many forms of prejudice and segregation in society, besides skin color and besides religion.
And that's always something that we try to aim for when we have our groups, is to make it a personal moment. So when they walk away, they can self-reflect. They can say, what can we do better in our world? Not just one time. Don't just be kind one time, but be kind every single day.
I'd like to just add one more thing, and that is, before we close this out, and that is that Nova Southeastern University is an absolute leader here. Nova Southeastern University, with its senior administration, has taken the position to encourage this type of education. Nova Southeastern University partners with us in the statewide Holocaust Reflection Contest for every middle and high school throughout the state. And Nova Southeastern University has permitted us and encouraged us to build this Holocaust Reflection and Resource Center right in the heart of its campus in the Alvin Sherman Library. So we commend Nova Southeastern University for being leaders in this. I want you to know that there's not a university in the state of Florida that has a facility like this.
We hope that by having our center on a college campus, those students will come in, learn, and again, become compassionate and caring human beings.
Thank you, Maria.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, and welcome to the Alvin Sherman Library at Nova Southeastern University. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Craig and Barbara Weiner Holocaust Reflection and Resource Center together, so please follow me. Hi, come on in. Come on in. Welcome. This Holocaust Reflection and Resource Center is, in our opinion, the foremost center of its kind in South Florida. In fact, there is no center like this on any university campus throughout the state. We have numerous schools that come here for school tours and take part in our various educational programs. In fact, when the schools come here, the students and the teachers stay with us for an entire school day, including lunch. Now, I'd like to first give you an idea as to what's in this room and how it's been designed so that you can follow the progression of how the Holocaust happened. In this center, you will not only see numerous images dealing with propaganda, dealing with US news and what the world knew about the Holocaust, Nazi terror, images, including images about Kristallnacht, the night of broken glass, the book burning, images about the ghettos and ghetto life. And then we in fact move on to Holocaust by bullets, which not everybody is aware, but of the 6 million Jews that perished during the Holocaust, 1/3 of them were actually murdered by bullets and not in gas chambers. You will also see, for example, a number of images about concentration camp life. Not only the gas chambers that people ask about all the time or the crematorium, but you will see how people arrived at concentration camps. You will see how they were treated at concentration camps. And in fact, it won't only be about Auschwitz, it'll be about numerous concentration camps. We have images here from Buchenwald. We have images here from Mauthausen, which is in Austria. There are many images that you will see when you come here, and they are all, for the most part, explained, because you will see little numbers on a number of these images, and there's a little booklet right at the entrance, which is free of charge, and in that booklet it explains the images that you're looking at. The other thing to know about this center is that it is, again, the only one in South Florida that displays the number of original artifacts that we have on exhibit here. In this center, we actually exhibit 250 original artifacts from that period. Not only Nazi artifacts, but a number of artifacts of the prisoners as well. As I'm sure you all know, while there were 6 million Jews that lost their lives during the Holocaust, that were murdered, there were also several million non-Jews that lost their lives during the Holocaust, and we display a number of those artifacts as well. In fact, we have 2 original uniforms that you're going to see shortly in this film, one from Sachsenhausen and one from Buchenwald, both of which were worn by non-Jewish prisoners. Now, you will see as we pan around the various artifacts that are on exhibit, we have children's artifacts, we have an original Torah cover, a Torah mantle, that was recently found in 2019 in Lodz, Poland, and we have prisoner drawings that are exhibited as well, so that it can basically make the history more real. Because what you're seeing in prisoner drawings, as you know, is what the prisoners actually saw, what they actually experienced. Those are very important. And then, of course, we deal with liberation and the arrival of the Allies, the Americans, the Canadians, the Brits, the French, and the Russians, in which you'll see many artifacts. In fact, one of the very interesting artifacts in here is a rusty Star of David that was required to be put on homes in Berlin for Jewish people. And if you look closely at it, it actually says, Juden leben hier, Jew lives here. Now, I'll take you into the next room, which is primarily artifacts. Let's go in here. For example, one of the artifacts that you'll see is a Jewish violin that survived the period of the Holocaust. These are quite rare to find, and in fact, if you look at the back of the violin through the mirror, you would actually see 5 stars of David on the violin. As we go around the room, we have a number of artifacts in here, including SS armbands and capo armbands, etc. This case is quite interesting because we have a number of currencies that were used, essentially valueless currency, that were used at various concentration camps. For example, at Westerbork, where Anne Frank and her family was, we have currency from that camp. We also have from Flossenburg, we have from Buchenwald, we have various ones, including from Terezin. You'll also see stars of David that were worn on armbands or on clothing. You will see in this center. We actually have stars from 6 different countries. For example, we have the yellow stars from the Czech Republic, Czechoslovakia. We have the yellow stars from Slovakia. We also have the yellow stars that would have been worn by Bulgarian Jews, French Jews, Polish Jews, German Jews, as well as Dutch Jews, which of course Anne Frank's family would have worn that star, and it's on exhibit here as well. We have a number of very interesting artifacts in here. For example, we have a can of Bayer aspirin that was made in the IG Farben factory at Auschwitz. People are not necessarily aware that aspirin was made at Auschwitz. There are a number of artifacts in here. To explain each one would take great length. In fact, we also have, just for example, I'm looking at a piece of forged currency. I don't know if you're aware, but forged currency was made at the camp called Sachsenhausen, and it was forged British banknotes. We have one of those banknotes right here. You'll see a cup from the Schindler factory, the yellow stars. You'll also see a number of original signs from Germany that we have here as well, including signs from the Lodz ghetto in Poland. For example, this particular sign is a sign that would have hung outside a restaurant or outside a business that says, Jews will not be served here. Now that brings us to the conversation of segregation. We do a lot of discussion in here when we have school groups about how horrible segregation is and how many different forms of segregation there are other than simply skin color or religion, and all of them are disgusting. So we use a sign like this as part of our discussion when it comes to segregation. As we continue in here, you'll see, again, more and more artifacts. A number of these are from France. This is a family that lived in France whose father was in the French army, and he was ultimately deported as a Jew to Auschwitz and murdered. You'll see the man's dog tags here that he actually wore. You'll see a picture of him with his daughter. You'll see the yellow star that his wife actually wore and her police identification. In here you'll see additional artifacts, original newspapers from 1945 when the war was over. Headline being Victory. The headline of the Stars and Stripes military newspaper reading Hitler dead. As we go along more, you'll see here a number of wine cups. The smaller ones, of course, being for children. These wine cups were only found in October or November of 2019. They were found in an abandoned building in Lodz, Poland. And these are the concentration camp uniforms that I'd mentioned before. This one is from Sachsenhausen, including the man's pants, shirt, and his shoes. This is a uniform from Buchenwald with a lady's coat. What's interesting about this coat is that we have the identification card of the woman that actually wore this coat, non-Jewish. And then there are continuing more and more artifacts. One thing that's very interesting that we have on our computers is the timeline of the Holocaust. So if anyone wants to, they can come in here and go on this computer, punch on any date, pick any month you like, and you can read or listen to, with these earphones, any of the historical facts that you'd like to listen to or read. All you do is touch it, up it comes. And finally in here we have an original copy of the 20-minute film that was a propaganda film that was made by Joseph Goebbels, essentially saying that the Fuhrer, Hitler, gives the Jews a city. This was filmed at Theresienstadt. All of them were ultimately murdered, and this was essentially nothing but a propaganda film. I'd like to now show you our computer room. Please come with me. In this section of the Holocaust Reflection and Resource Center, you'll notice that we have two computers here as well. One of these computers is tied to every major Holocaust museum in the world. All you need to do is click on it, pick the museum you want to do research, and you're on. It also contains 35 full-length movies. Movies like Schindler's List, or La Rafle, or The Pianist, etc. These are all of no charge. Anyone can come and watch them at any time they like. And then the second computer that's in here has 12 small clips, 10-minute clips, that will talk, for example, about ghetto life, or Jewish resistance, or the final solution, or anti-Semitism. You can pick the topic that you like, click on it, listen with these earphones, and in 10 minutes, you've had it. Just a final few comments I'd like to make. One of the things that we do talk about is how important it is for all of us to stand up against hate, injustice, prejudice, bigotry. It's something that seems to permeate society. So what I do is I take this newspaper. This is the Houston Post from November of 1938. And the headline on this paper says, "Nazi Germany threatens to exterminate Jews." Now this was in November of 1938. We actually didn't declare war against Germany until after Pearl Harbor. So we use this as an example, not to say anything about America or Canada or Britain or any of the Allies for that matter. We use these newspapers, these historical papers, for the purpose of showing how important it is that when something is wrong, you see something wrong, we as individuals need to do something about it. And that's our mission here. Our mission here is to find ways to stop hate, find ways to have young people become more compassionate, more caring, more empathetic towards others. In fact, as you leave this center, there's a sign that says, "Thou shalt not be a victim, thou shalt not be a perpetrator, but above all, thou shalt not be a bystander." And that's really our message. When the schools come here, I want the teachers to be aware that the programs go from roughly 8:30 or 8:45 in the morning until 2 p.m. We have lunch on campus, which the students love doing because, as you know, not all high school and middle school students have had the opportunity to be on a university campus. And we conduct 3 different programs for the students during the day. One is they normally will have a tour of this Holocaust Center and an explanation of the history. They will then have a film about the White Rose, which was a non-Jewish resistance group that stood up against Hitler, stood up against the Nazis, as a prime example of people that stand up against hate. And then we also do a session on the Auschwitz album, which of course is an album of a number of important images that bring the message home from a family or personal perspective. It's a very emotional presentation. I can say this for a fact. When the schools leave here, they always rebook for the next year. We've been very privileged to have numerous schools coming to the Alvin Sherman Library at Nova Southeastern University. They book their dates with us well in advance, and it's a privilege for us to have these fine students coming for a day of education. The center is open 7 days a week, not only to students, it's open to the general public, 7 days a week. This library is a joint venture between Nova Southeastern University and Broward County, and is therefore considered as well as a county library. So I thank you for your visit today, and I hope to see you here. And I hope that when you complete your visit of the Craig and Barbara Weiner Holocaust Reflection and Resource Center, that you will leave perhaps as a kinder person, as a more gentle person, and as a person that will reflect on how important it is to stand up against hate. Thank you for your visit.